to like, subscribe, and share. I wanted to take a moment and talk with you about adopting an adult dog versus adopting a new puppy. And this is sort of a fresh topic for me right now because if you've been following me, you know that Blue just went to a new home, 6-year-old Blue. And she went to a really good friend of mine, and they live in Texas. And so they drove up and got Blue the other day, and so now Blue is down in Texas. So here's how it works with reputable breeders. So reputable breeders only breed their dogs maybe 3 times, 4 times tops. And they age their dog out at about 5 or 6 years old. They have the dog spayed or neutered, and they place that dog appropriately in a quality home. If it's a sport dog, I actually had one, Yoshi, that when she was 5, I aged her out, and she went on to become a really super good rally obedience dog. So I try to place mine appropriately, whether it's performance or pet, therapy or whatever. And so that way the breeder doesn't end up collecting a bunch of dogs or overbreeding their dog, and they're able to give the dogs that they have quality time and attention and care, and give the puppies, because I only raise 1 litter at a time generally, give the puppies the quality time that they need. And then when it's time, the adults are spayed, neutered, and placed appropriately. So if you're considering a purebred dog, you might want to ask your breeder if they have any adult dogs that they're getting ready to age out. And that is going to save you, first of all, tons of money, because the purebred puppy is going to cost you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, whatever it is. Then you have to do all the puppy shots and all the training and the spaying and the neutering, and you're way into the thousands and thousands the first year. If you adopt a dog from a breeder who's reputable, they have already had that dog spayed or neutered for you. They have already trained the dog. The dog is house trained. The dog is groomer trained. The dog is vet trained. The dog is leash trained. And you also have the benefit of knowing exactly what size it's going to be because it's already adult. So these are things to consider when you're getting a dog. Now, if you're a senior person, you definitely, well, I'm not going to say definitely, but you really should look at getting a retired adult dog. Now, by retired, you think of retirement as old age. It's not old age. It's really they're going into their second act because they've done their breeding thing and now they're done with that, and they might have 8 or 10 more good years to give to you as a companion or a sport dog or whatever. So if you're a senior person, you need a dog that's really well leash trained, that's calmer, that's not going to be getting you up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, although you might be getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. You could take your dog out. But for example, you know, Blue went to super friends of mine that are same age as me, you know, and are very happy to have a dog that wants to go out for a couple-mile walk and hang around the house and chew on her bully stick and get rubs and pets. So look at the stage of life where you are and figure out if the stage of life where you are is compatible with the puppy, or if you would be better off with an adult dog. I have several adult dogs right now that I am aging out or that are no longer needed in the breeding program. Shelby is 8 years old this year. And you think, wow, that's really an old dog. Well, I'm here to tell you, most of these little dogs go 12, 15 years and they stay very active. Shelby can easily do a 2 or 3 mile walk with you today. However, he's a little bit older and so he's more settled. He does have energy. He loves to bark and bounce if you get the leash out. He's a retired show dog and he loves to show so much, and he loves to go to the groomer so much that he can get bouncy and barky. But you know, you can shut that down if you want to, or you can let him bounce and bark. But if you're a senior person who's 80 years old or 85 years old, you know, not to be morbid, but you may not want to get a puppy that's going to live 15 years. You may not want to have to worry about what's going to happen to that dog. You know, you may not want to have to worry about if you get too frail or infirm to take care of that dog, what's going to happen to it. And by the way, if you adopt an adult dog from me and you are a senior person, then I'm happy to, I've had people actually put their dog in their will to me. So if something happens to them, I will get the dog back and I will rehome the dog appropriately. And you can actually put your puppy in your will to me as well if you'd like for me to take your dog and rehome it if something happens to you, if you pass on or whatever. So these are just things to consider when thinking about getting another dog. And if you do get an adult dog, we did several things with Blue to help her make the transition. And number one was I started, because my dogs are farm dogs, living on the farm. She had only been in the car one time. That was to go get spayed. So I took her for some car rides and I took her to some new places so she could see that there was a world outside the farm. I got her used to wearing a collar. Now she was very well leash trained, but she hadn't been on the leash in years. So I did a bunch of leash walking just to remind her. And once they learn it when they're a puppy, I mean, these people couldn't believe how good she is on the leash. She learned it when she was a puppy and they never forget it. So I did some leash walking with her. I got her used to wearing a harness. I groomed her really good before she went. And then they came, and I would recommend that you visit your dog 3 times. And this is what they did. They came up from Texas and they stayed for several days. They came over and visited Blue. I took Blue to where they were staying. They gave Blue car rides in their car. And so by the time she was ready to take the trip to Texas, she knew them pretty well and she knew their vehicle and she'd kind of warmed up to the whole situation. I sent with her one of her baby blankets that she had raised her litters on and a toy with this, just like you would a puppy, with everybody's scent on it. I sent that toy. I sent her food that she's accustomed to. I sent the treats that she's accustomed to, the chewy stick that she's accustomed to, and gave them some instruction on how to walk her, how to call her, and how to handle her. So what they're doing with her is very familiar with her. They made it to Texas. They introduced her to their cat. So far, everything's going seamless. And this is what I would call a seamless rehoming of an adult dog. So if you're going to get an adult dog from a breeder, make sure that they plan to spend the time with you and that dog so that you can learn what makes the new dog tick. Every dog's different, and you want to know that dog's routine, feeding routine, walking routine, every kind of routine, so that if you can set that up at your house the same way the breeder had it, even if you plan to change it, let's say you had one of those breeders that keeps their dogs in the crate all the time, that's not me, but let's say you had one of those, and so you go, okay, well, what was his routine? And then you do what the breeder did, but then you slowly start to transition the dog over to the way you do things. If you transition them over too fast, give them free range of your house and all of that when they're not used to that, then they start having accidents or chewing things just like a puppy. But I would strongly recommend that you consider, if you don't want to go through raising a puppy, consider speaking to whatever breed it is you're interested in. Start talking to different breeders. You would be surprised how many breeders have dogs hanging around. I saw a doormat I wanted to get. It said, ring the doorbell, win a dog. And that's really the way it is. At a reputable breeder always has a dog that's either aging out now, or maybe they'll say, well, I'm getting one more litter off of her and then she'll be available, or I'm using him a little bit longer and then he'll be available. And you can get the breed that you want from a reputable breeder at way less cost, that's already full grown, already trained, already vaccinated, already spayed. It's just you take the dog home and you start to enjoy your dog. So I hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, we sure would appreciate the subscription, the like, the share, the comments. All of those help the channel grow. Thank you.